Sunderland came safely through a tricky-looking trip to Lincoln, again proving they have strength in depth when injuries strike. Martin Scott had been carried off in only 11 minutes, but his replacement, Gavin McCann, played a full part. 4 minutes after his arrival, McCann's shot cannoning off Steve Holmes and in. Sunderland held on to their narrow lead, even when they went down to 10 men for the climax to the game. Darren Williams hacking down Stuart Bimson to earn a second yellow card. Sunderland's aim is to progress as far as possible in the Cup with the least disruption to their promotion push. One injury and one sending off, one too many of each. What Newcastle United needed at home to Crystal Palace was a steady, secure performance and an unfussy passage into round 4. Instead, the Geordies did everything the hard way. Shay Given rushed out of his goal on 15 minutes. He claimed here that the ball inadvertently ricocheted onto his arm, but referee Mike Reid was having none of it. Newcastle forced to bring on their reserve keeper Steve Harper and play with 10 men for 75 minutes. When things couldn't get any worse, they did. Clint Morrison's cross, Lee Bradbury putting Palace in front just 4 minutes later. Cup success is critical to Newcastle this season, and after failing to make non-stop pressure pay before half-time, Gary Speed produced a deserved equaliser 3 minutes after the break. And perhaps inspired by a sense of injustice, there was no let-up. Skipper for the day, Alan Shearer, answered all his critics. Warren Barton's cross converted by the man who wishes it to be known. He is still England's #1 striker. Third Division Plymouth forced 16 corners at Home Park, but it was the Premier League visitors who had the cutting edge. Dion Burton heading home Dean Sturridge's cross on 15 minutes for Derby. And it was the pace of Sturridge that did the damage for the second. Paul Wootton hauling him to the ground as he chased Jakob Lawson's long ball. Stefano Eranio making it 2 from the spot. And Premier League pace again proved too much for Plymouth in the second half, hard though the home side tried to force their way back into it. The Jamaican international Burton with his second to persuade his manager Jim Smith that long-term he might yet have a future at Derby. This was the cup tie with all the ingredients. Chelsea's big-name stars asked to perform in a hostile environment and allegedly likely to find the going tough. But the big names kept cool, even when Dennis Wise's first-half strike was disallowed and the referee Paul Durkin shamefully abused by a section of the crowd. The goals came late on. Gianluca Vialli breaking through on 68 minutes. Oldham had done their best to unsettle Chelsea, but the big names simply stuck to their task like top-line professionals. And the boss ended it as a contest on 75. There's something about Vialli in cup football. He scored 10 this season. That will be featured in the referee's report, along with the sausage roll that unfortunately hit the referee, for which Oldham may well pay over the odds. At Selhurst Park, the game between the club everybody says should be in Division 2 and the club everybody says belongs in the top grade, with Manchester City fans almost outnumbering Wimbledon support. But on the hour, it was the Dons fans who were cheering. Mark Kennedy and Michael Hughes instrumental in the build-up. Carl Court driving the ball past Nicky Weaver. Then a hard-fought contest boiled over. Court, the goal-scorer, and the City defender Andy Morrison tangling in a race for possession. A tangle that continued after the ball had gone, and which culminated in a free-for-all. Both men were sent off. Morrison, a player with a checkered past, the first to be singled out. City were looking for justice to be done, believing Court deserved equal punishment. And he got it. Both sides needed to rediscover their discipline, but Wimbledon's cracked again when Jason Ewell went off for a second bookable offence. It should have been a comfortable finish for the Dons, but down to 9 men, the final minutes were anything but. Still, Wimbledon's nerve held to put paid to the hopes of a much bigger club. Where have we heard that before? The First Division form book looked to be going out of the window early on at Prenton Park. Ipswich undone by Scott Taylor's hard chasing. All he had to do was finish it off. That seemed to sum up the first half. Tranmere on top, Ipswich riding their luck. There was a goal at this end of the ground, but it came seconds after the interval, and it seemed to sum the day up. David Johnson's long throw producing an own goal by John McGreal. Hard though Rovers pressed thereafter, Ipswich held on, and Tranmere were left with their hard luck stories. Now for the most romantic tie of the round, Rushden and Diamonds against Leeds, watched by Martin Tyler.
And we're nearly dealing with a sensational opening, as Adrian Foster, who's averaged a goal a game this season, almost continued the run. Heggs and Butterworth are getting each other's way, but Butterworth improvises, and that was dipping under the bar, and Martin didn't realise that straight away, but he did in the nick of time. That's great play by Paul Underwood, and sent tumbling right on the edge of the area. Now Woodgate, who was booked in the first half, and Steve Dunn shows Jonathan Woodgate a second yellow card, and Leeds at 0-0 here are down to 10 men.
This is one non-league outfit who don't necessarily need the revenue from a replay at Elland Road, but the glory and the publicity will be theirs in abundance. Given Yeovil's extraordinary cup history and recent success in non-league football, Cardiff expected this would be tough, and with a former Cardiff man in opposition, it was. Carl Dale bundled Yeovil into the lead on 54 minutes. A corner produced Cardiff's equaliser too. Christian Roberts credited with the final touch here to level it with just 6 minutes remaining. And Cardiff could have won it in injury time. Kevin Nugent's header brilliantly cleared by Kevin Brown. That earned Yeovil a replay, leaving Cardiff with more work to do. Port Vale, long on injuries and short on form in Division 1, were hoping to keep Liverpool out long enough to make it a nervous afternoon for a side only just rediscovering their best. But it didn't work. Dave Barnett bringing down Michael Owen in the box, and Owen converting his 16th of the season from the penalty spot on 34 minutes. Four minutes later, it was 2 for Liverpool, and the captain Paul Ince back in the side, coming up with a rare headed goal. Liverpool dominant throughout, and they held on despite an improvement from Vale in the second period. The substitute Robbie Fowler set up by Owen, and looking sharp after injury to add the third late on. Liverpool's 4th win in a row. Manchester United had lost only 5 FA Cup ties this decade, but this looked like being one of the tougher jobs at Old Trafford against Middlesbrough, recent winners here in the league. Our commentator, Gary Bloom.
Townsend, he scored! Middlesbrough have scored against Manchester United, and Andy Townsend, the captain, makes it 1-0. Giggs. That's a great ball. Is this the equaliser? It is! Andy Cole scores a goal, and Manchester United are right back in the FA Cup. Solskjaer. Keane again. But appeals for a penalty. And the referee has given a penalty. And it's Dennis Irwin who's taken over regular responsibility now for taking penalties. With a penalty for Manchester United, and for the first time in the match, Manchester United have the lead. And Ryan Giggs has just sealed Manchester United's victory with a goal in stoppage time at the end of the game.
West Ham have already endured League Cup exit against lower league opposition in this campaign, and against Swansea they came perilously close to an even more embarrassing exit. Jason Smith's 61st minute header deservedly putting Swansea in front, and with only 4 minutes left the Hammers needed one of their old reliables to come up with a saviour. Julian Dix doesn't train much these days, but his left boot's still a powerful weapon. Swans keeper Roger Freeston marring an excellent day's work to spare West Ham their blushes. Sheffield Wednesday made short work of Norwich at Hillsborough. Richie Humphreys putting the home side into the lead on 18 minutes. And Humphreys, now looking on his way back to top form after a year when little went right, extended the lead on 33 minutes, even if he needed 3 attempts this time round. It was far too easy for Wednesday to run through Norwich in the first period. 5 minutes before the break, Peter Rudy made it 3. And that left Norwich with nothing but a battle to salvage some pride. Ewan Roberts is never one to go down without a fight. He gave the scoreline a measure of respectability on the stroke of half-time. But Wednesday wrapped up one of their best wins of the season with the 4th on 73 minutes. Dejan Stefanovic this time. Wednesday fans asking why their team can't be as dangerous as this every week. This looked one of the most attractive cup ties of the day, and sure enough it was action-packed. Watford taking the game to Tottenham from the off, a flying start for the Division 1 promotion chasers. Richard Johnson completing the pinball, Spurs behind in 53 seconds. Watford also hit the bar, then in the 4th minute Ruel Fox and Darren Anderton set up Stefan Everson for Spurs' equaliser. Watford's defending wasn't up to scratch from the next set piece either. Steve Palmer gifting Spurs a penalty. Darren Anderton put the home side in front. And within 20 minutes, Spurs were 3-1 up. Again, Anderton and Fox setting up the play from the corner. Les Ferdinand chesting down, Everson pouncing for his second. Spurs potent in front of goal then, but at the other end, vulnerable to the counter. Peter Kennedy finishing off Darren Baisley's cross, the 5th goal of this game with 35 minutes played. But Spurs still had time to re-establish a 2-goal cushion before the break. Mika Hyde giving possession away, Alan Nielsen punishing him with the help of a post. At the break, Tottenham tightened up, no doubt under orders from George Graham. No further scoring until the 87th minute, when Ruel Fox, set up by Everson, ended all the arguments to leave Spurs players preparing for a hard week's work to tighten up defensively. Like England's other top teams, Aston Villa now truly have strength in depth. Stan Collymore desperate to seize his chance replacing the injured Dion Dublin, and Collymore eventually broke through in first half injury time after build-up work by Steve Watson and Lee Hendry. After the break, Villa ruthlessly took charge. Julian Joachim heading home Collymore's cross on 51 minutes, and roles reversed for the 3rd. Joachim's run and cross, Collymore making a difficult finish look easy. Villa cruise on in League and Cup, and even the likes of Collymore know getting in this side and staying in it are not easy, no matter what your reputation. Exactly 10 years on from an infamous exit against non-league opposition, Coventry could ill afford a repeat, but for the first 25 minutes they looked distinctly ill at ease against Macclesfield. Then Steve Froggatt finished off a move he had started, and for a side lacking confidence, that was the moment they'd been waiting for. Gary McAllister provided the corner for the second. Noel Whelan got across Steve Payne, his marker, and stooped low to head home. On the stroke of half-time, any hope of a Macclesfield revival was stilled, Froggatt slicing his way through and Payne finishing the job off for Coventry. Coventry's next task was for their strikers struggling in the Premier League to find their form in the Cup. Darren Huckerby made it 4 on the hour mark and reminded everyone he thinks his name should be on the team sheet every week. New man John Aloisi, brought in last week from Portsmouth, then helped set up Huckerby for his second and Coventry's fifth. And with Macclesfield in disarray over the closing 10 minutes, time for 2 more. George Boateng and Huckerby doing all the build-up work. Boateng's header made it 6. And Huckerby still had time to ensure he would go home with the match ball. A hat-trick to ease some of the pressure he's been under in the Premier League. Coventry with their biggest win of the season. While Blackburn have been slowly finding their form in the past month in the Premier League, Charlton's season has been spiralling out of control. Even without 3 first-choice strikers, Blackburn still had Kevin Davis. He's now scored twice in a month after almost a year without a goal. Charlton for long periods were the livelier, but they left themselves exposed on the counter 2 minutes from time. Keith Gillespie releasing Jason Wilcox, and with Sasa Ilic still trying to recover from an excursion into the opposition box, Wilcox wrapped it up. Blackburn unbeaten in 6, Charlton 8 defeats in a row. Wolves believe the next goal-scoring sensation of English football is called Robbie Keane. 2 more reasons why at the Reebok Stadium. On 8 minutes he beat the offside trap to put the visitors in front. But with Wolves injury hit and Bolton in better league form, little surprise the home side levelled on 57 minutes. Scott Sellers' left foot just picking out the top corner. Still, try keeping Keane out of it. On 65 minutes he got free in the box, just long enough to touch home Michael Gilt's powerful cross shot. A surprise win this for Wolves, but no surprise, Keane had made the difference. When Everton last won the FA Cup in 1995, they had to overcome Bristol City on the way. Would this be an omen this time round? Commentary from David Smith.
4.5 minutes to go. Driven in hard. Oh, it's a magnificent goal. What a way to perhaps wrap up this tie. Headed by Hutchings, gives the ball away though, and it's Grant now. And of course the chances are that Everton will score another as Bristol City look to chase the game, and Bakayoko's got past his man. He's looking for his second goal of the game, and he's got it.
A tough-looking draw for Leicester, a Midland derby against Birmingham, whose form has been impressive in Division 1. But Premier League quality prevailed throughout. A well-crafted opener smashed home by Frank Sinclair. Then it was the turn of Leicester's other fullback, Rob Ullathorne, surging into the box down the left-hand side. His shot, and he was quickest to react to the rebound to extend Leicester's lead. Birmingham did keep their hopes alive thanks to Steve Robinson. He fired home after Paul Furlong laid the ball off to him. That reduced the arrears at the break, but Leicester refused to yield the initiative. Another delightful touch coming up from Emile Heskey. That released Tony Cottee into the box, and he re-established Leicester's 2-goal cushion. Then it was Steve Guppy's chance to show his class, not only with his left foot. A magnificent right foot strike, beating Kevin Poole in the Birmingham goal, perhaps the pick of Leicester's 4. In all, it had been a salutary lesson in the quality gap for Birmingham, but at least they stuck to it. They regained some self-respect thanks to Dili Alibola's last-minute goal, but no doubting which had been the Premier League outfit. Leicester into round 4. A former Southampton hero returned to the Dell, resolved on causing further damage to another of the top-flight strugglers. Kevin Keegan and his present club Fulham out to underline the progress they're making on and off the field. And the Division 2 leaders took the lead here inside the first 10 minutes. Steve Hayward with time to measure out his finish. Fulham in front, and given that they'd lost only 4 games all season, it looked sure to be a long haul back for Southampton. The home side toiled away, but it looked beyond them when they were reduced to 10 men on 70 minutes. Ken Moncau sent off for a flying lunge on Rufus Brevitt. Into injury time, and Southampton's luck suddenly turned. Alan Nielsen's attempted clearance, inadvertently blocked by Paul Trollope, straight into the path of Egil Ostenstad. Somehow he finished it to deny Fulham. But Fulham have already knocked Southampton out of the League Cup, and they'll fancy they can complete this job a second time.